Who's scruffy looking?
Today we're going to talk about Jedi Fallen Order. This is one of the first times I've talked about it in depth on this channel because I actually played it in full before I thought about making Talking with My Han, so I just never had the opportunity to talk about it in a relevant setting. Today I'd like to explain the few things its successor will have to do in order to be just as successful. I think Jedi Fallen Order right now is pretty close to being the best Star Wars game of the new partnership between Lucasfilm, Disney, and EA. If it wasn't for the sheer amount of content in Battlefront 2 and that game's replayability, Jedi Fallen Order would have the top spot. Jedi Fallen Order's story was the closest to a cinematic experience out of a video game that I've experienced from any game of any genre. It had an insane amount of depth and lore, and the performances were really compelling and extremely touching at times. It explores a lot of different themes, and on top of everything else, it is a really satisfying combat engine that pays great homage to the lightsaber styles we see in the movies. Disney and EA saw that people really responded to Jedi Fallen Order and its characters, and rightfully decided to continue the story. No new content has been released that furthers Cal's story, but it has been announced that Jedi Fallen Order will be getting more in the near future. That, as you can imagine, definitely includes a sequel to the critically acclaimed game. The story has all the potential in the world to go a bunch of different directions, but we're not talking about that today. We're going to talk about the few mechanics this game must have in order to really take the next step as a sequel. I think the first thing Jedi Fallen Order 2 must do is continue to develop the combat mechanics. Don't get me wrong, what Respawn did in the first game was really clever. Having Cal work through his PTSD from Order 66 and relearn all the Force techniques he lost over time is genius. It's a great way to tell the story and level up your character through the game without it feeling like a breach of the existing canon. With the second game, you can't do that again. I was talking with my buddy Luke, who was featured on the first episode of Fanterviews, and he and I came up with a really good workaround for Jedi Fallen Order 2 that might fit in with the story and help keep the combat fresh. If in the game Cal and company have to travel the galaxy to find other Jedi temples, maybe Cal can discover new lightsaber techniques and styles as well. Perhaps one of the mechanics of the game can be that Cal can not only discover them, but work to be a master of each style. Maybe some missions require you to perfect a more defensive strategy, while others you can just run and slash around. Both will require different lightsaber techniques that you can work to perfect as the game goes on. With that, each lightsaber style might carry with it its own unique combos with their own unique key bindings. I think that would be a fun way to keep the combat fresh, make it challenging, and keep it away from the standard power-up method. The other thing Jedi Fallen Order 2 has to do in order to be a really successful game is become a true open-world game. Jedi Fallen Order's map design was really good in the first game. Each planet felt unique, and nothing ever felt like it was copied and pasted, but with just different colors. Each map had its own challenges and enemies and feel, and that made exploring each one really cool. Each planet also had its fair share of deep lore to discover, and for a Star Wars lore junkie like myself, that made the game much, much cooler. But at the same time, for a game that felt sprawling and cinematic, sometimes the maps let me down. I know they aren't exactly linear in fashion, but essentially they are. There's usually one or two ways to the back of the map, and then one or two ways out. Sure, they're gorgeous settings and prevent unique challenges, but that doesn't stop them from bringing down the enjoyment of this game for me. I think if Jedi Fallen Order 2 transforms into a true open world game, or should I say open worlds, it has a chance to be really special, giving the player the freedom to not only choose how he or she wants to fight, but where and how they want to get there is something that brings a whole lot to a game. If Respawn really wants to make you feel like a Jedi, it's time to give the player ultimate freedom. And I don't think that the next generation of consoles aren't capable of handling this kind of computing power. the next generation of processors could definitely handle a multiple open world maps and a ton of different enemies for the player to handle. In addition, adding an open world concept to the game would really add to the amount of lore you could pack into the nooks and crannies of each map to satisfy us nerds that love that kind of stuff. I think if the actors return to their roles and the story is just as compelling as the first, and the developers add in these two aspects to Jedi Fallen Order 2, Star Wars fans could be sitting on perhaps one of the greatest games of all time. And I really mean that. Comment down below what you think could make Jedi Fallen Order 2 even more special than the first game. I'd love to know what you guys think, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.